Hello, welcome to our lecture on how trade makes us wealthier. This is from Chapter 4, Section 4 of our Economics Alive textbook. You can refer to that section if you have further questions. What is trade? When economists say the word trade, you might think of things like that large ship trading between countries. Well, trade is not just international trade. Trade, in economic terms, is quite simply buying and selling goods and services. Anytime you give somebody money and they give you a good or a service, that's trade. Well, what is wealth? You might think of wealth as cash or money or a fancy house. But wealth, in economic terms, is the total value of everything we own, and not just the monetary value. It might be the personal value. Somebody who loves to swim would probably value this house with its pool more than somebody who's afraid of the water. So somebody who really loves to swim would consider themselves more wealthy if they had this house than somebody who hates the pool. Trade makes us wealthier in three ways. The first way is that trade moves goods to the people who value them more. The easiest examples of this have to do with second-hand items, or garage sales, or things being sold on Craigslist. In all of these examples, in a garage sale like we see here, the buyer values the good more than the seller. And that's always true with a sale. Otherwise, they wouldn't sell. But it's obvious in a garage sale. Somebody sells something at a garage sale because they consider it junk. They're trying to clear out space. They need to get rid of it. They don't want it anymore. But somebody buys something at a garage sale because they don't think it's junk. They see value in it. Maybe they just like the parts or the pieces, and they're going to take it apart and use the parts. But nonetheless, the buyer values the good more than the seller. Both people, the buyer and the seller, expect to be happier after the trade. Both sides think that they're getting a deal. At a garage sale, the seller is getting a deal because they're clearing room out of their garage or out of their attic or out of their basement, and they're getting a little bit of money for something that they weren't going to use anymore. The buyer thinks that the product is worth what they're paying for it, or maybe even it's worth more. As a result, anytime a product is sold or a product is traded, it's the same thing, either at a garage sale, on Craigslist, or in a regular store, the value of that product increases. Think of clothes that you've outgrown. They're not worth anything to you. You're not going to wear them again. They don't fit. But if you take them and sell them at a garage sale, whoever buys them is planning on wearing them. And therefore, they're much more valuable to them. Clothes that they can wear are more valuable than clothes that you can't wear. Trade moves goods to the people who value them because the buyers value the purchased good more than the seller, and it raises the value of the product. The second reason trade makes us wealthier is trade increases the quantity and variety of goods available. Here we see a number of cheeses from around the world, and cheese is often regional. Certain types of cheeses are produced in certain parts of the world as a result of the climate and conditions that exist there. We couldn't have the variety of cheeses that we have at our supermarkets if not for trade. The same goes for wine. Wine is regional, and you wouldn't have rows and rows of wine at the grocery store if we didn't have trade. But it's not true only for regional items. Trade also increases the variety and the quantity of all goods. The third and final reason is that trade lowers the cost of goods. Open trading opens markets to less costly goods from other places, probably places with comparative advantages. If South Korea can make a car cheaper than automakers in Detroit, then that is going to lower the cost of automobiles in the United States. Cheaper South Korean cars will be available, and American-made cars are going to have to compete and probably lower their costs or offer models that are lower priced. In addition, when a company sells to a larger market, sells to more people, it allows those producers to save via mass production. Think about Kroger and the bread that you might buy at Kroger, the loaf of bread that you might buy at Kroger. You can get it for less than $2. Now compare that to a loaf of bread you might try to buy at the farmer's market. Why is Kroger's bread so much cheaper? Well, one reason is that Kroger makes a lot more loaves of bread every day than that small baker who sells at the farmer's market. Therefore, Kroger needs more resources and supplies. Kroger can buy their supplies, like flour, at a cheaper price because they can buy in bulk. And the flour producers are going to sell it to Kroger at a cheaper price because they know that Kroger is buying more. In summary, trade makes more winners than losers. For workers, trade raises wages. There are some negatives to trade. From an American perspective, trade can lead to plant closings when other countries with comparative advantages take business away from American companies. However, most economists agree that trade benefits most Americans. In general, trade eliminates old jobs and creates new jobs where the United States or whatever country has a comparative advantage. This concludes our lecture. You can refer to the section in your book if you have further questions.